If you remember, we discussed earlier that corporate restructuring simply doesn't include the mergers and amalgamations and acquisitions. Even financial restructuring is a part of capital restructuring. The companies may need to restructure their finances for certain specific purposes. What is the necessity of financial restructuring? Let us try to understand some of the aspects which lead to financial restructuring. Number one is need for more working capital, or maybe inability of a company to meet its current commitments, inability to obtain further credit from the creditors, or inability to utilize the full production capacity for lack of funds. One can understand when we analyze these points that it seems that a company is not in a great financial position. The company is not in a position to get further credit from the creditors. This is probably because the company has not been able to make payment to the creditors in time, or company is not in a position to utilize its full production capacity because company doesn't have the additional working capital or the funds that are required to utilize its entire production capacity. There are various ways in which the financial restructuring can be planned by the companies. Injecting more capital by issue of shares, debentures, bonds, accepting or inviting deposits either from the public or the directors or the relatives of the directors, buyback of shares, it could be paying back the surplus capital, or it could even be the reduction of capital. Now if we analyze the aspects which are given in this particular slide, the first one talks about induction or injecting additional capital. This is a situation where the company is undercapitalized. If the company is undercapitalized, it means that company is in need of additional funds. If there is a need of additional funds, this need can be satisfied either by injecting the share capital or the debenture capital. Company may issue bonds, company may even accept deposits. In certain cases, company may even issue the ESOPs or sweat equity shares. So there could be many different ways in which the company can raise the funds if the company is an undercapitalized company. Whereas on the other side, if the company is overcapitalized, that is, company has more capital than it actually requires to do the business, company may either go for buyback of shares, or company may pay back the surplus capital, and company may even resort to reduction of share capital. Paying back of surplus capital need not necessarily mean paying back of equity capital. In such circumstances, if the company has preference shares, company may redeem preference shares. If the company has issued debentures, company may go for redemption of debentures. If the company has accepted or invited deposits from the public, company may start paying back the deposits to the public, and in certain cases, company may even start refunding or repaying the loans taken from banks and financial institutions. So these are some of the steps that can be taken by the companies which are either undercapitalized or overcapitalized. Understand what is the meaning of buyback of shares. Now, buyback is not something that was inserted in the Companies Act right from 1956. The provisions relating to buyback of shares were inserted in the Companies Act 1956 at a much later stage, sometime in the year 1999 or 2000. Section 77A of Companies Act 1956 dealt with the provisions relating to buyback. Under the Companies Act 2013, Section 68 of Companies Act 2013 deals with the provisions of buyback. Let us try to understand the provisions of buyback. Now, a buyback can be done either by way of a board resolution, or it can even be done by way of a shareholders resolution. If a company decides to buy back up to 10% of its paid up equity capital and free reserves, then a board meeting is sufficient. Whereas, if the company wants to purchase anything more than 10% but up to 25% of its paid up capital and free reserves, then the company is required to hold a general meeting and pass a special resolution. Let us try to analyze these provisions further. First thing that you need to keep in mind is unless and until the articles of association of a company provides for buyback of shares, a company cannot purchase its own shares. Of course, we all know that when the company buys back its shares or purchases its own shares, the number of shares that are bought back by the company are cancelled, and to that extent the paid up share capital of the company comes down. Now, if the company decides to hold a board meeting for the buyback of its own shares, the limit of 10% is 10% of its paid up equity capital and free reserves, whereas the limit of 25% is 25% of the paid up capital and free reserves. So there's a difference in this provision. When we talk about 10% buyback, it is 10% of paid up equity capital, where preference capital is not to be considered while calculating the amount for buyback of shares. Whereas when we talk about 25% buyback, it is 25% of the paid up capital plus free reserves, which means that while calculating the amount of 25%, we are going to consider both equity shares as well as preference shares and the free reserves. Whereas for the purpose of calculating 10%, we are going to consider only paid up equity capital and free reserves. And one has to keep in mind that when we talk about free reserves for the purpose of section 68 also includes securities premium. So it is 25% of the paid up capital, free reserves and securities premium, or 10% of the paid up equity capital, free reserves and securities premium. This is very important provision. Now, let us try to understand what are the sources of buyback, or what are the ways in which a company can go for buyback. Company can either utilize its free reserves or an amount standing to the credit of securities premium account for the purpose of buyback. Apart from these two things, a company may also utilize the proceeds of the issue of any shares or other specified securities for the purpose of buyback. But while doing this, the company has to keep in mind that buyback shall not be made out of the proceeds of an earlier issue of the same kind of shares or same kind of other specified securities. What it simply means is that a company cannot issue equity shares and buy back the equity shares out of the proceeds of the earlier issue. If the company wants to buy back equity shares, the proceeds of preference shares can be utilized, or if the company wants to buy back preference shares, the proceeds of equity shares can be utilized. So proceeds of equity shares can be utilized for buyback of preference shares or vice versa. This is possible. There are certain important conditions that a company is required to fulfill before the company decides to initiate the process of buyback. The first and the foremost thing, as we discussed some time back, unless and until the articles of association of a company has a provision for buyback of shares, company cannot buy back the shares. What it simply means is that if the articles of association of a company, whether public or private, are silent on buyback of shares, then the first thing that the company will have to do is hold a general meeting and pass a special resolution for alteration of articles of association. After inserting the provisions relating to buyback in the articles only, a company can initiate the process of buyback. So this is point number one. Point number two, the company has to ensure that it has sufficient amount of free reserves or securities premium account for the purpose of buying back the shares. If not, the company can utilize the proceeds of the fresh issue of the shares. Similarly, post buyback, the debt equity ratio cannot exceed 2:1. So while calculating the amount of buyback, whether it is 10% or 25%, company has to keep in mind that the post capital structure or post buyback capital structure of a company has to be arrived at in such a way that the debt equity ratio post buyback cannot exceed 2:1. Similarly, if the company is going to utilize either the free reserves or the securities premium account for the purpose of buying back its shares, then company is required to create a capital redemption reserve equivalent to the nominal amount of shares that are bought back. In this case, you need to keep in mind that if a company doesn't create a CRR or if a company fails to create a CRR, in the post buyback scenario, the balance sheet of a company will not tally. So creation of CRR is very important. At the same time, you also need to keep in mind that a CRR is not required to be created if the buyback is out of fresh issue of the shares or out of the proceeds of the shares. Similarly, a company, once it completes the buyback, will not be allowed to come out with a further offer of buyback within 1 year from the date of the closure of earlier offer. So if the offer of the buyback is closed today, then from 1 year from now, the company will not be allowed to come out with another offer of buyback. There has to be a gap of minimum 365 days between the earlier offer of buyback and the next offer of buyback. There's one more important aspect that is required to be kept in mind, and that is the company will not be allowed to come out with any further issue of shares of the same kind within a period of 6 months from the date of the buyback. What it simply means is that a company, when it buys back its shares, company will not be allowed to issue either the rights shares, or company will not be allowed to come out with a private placement issue of shares for a period of next 6 months. However, there are certain exceptions to the rule. The exceptions are: a company will be allowed to issue bonus shares within the span of 6 months, or if there are any subsisting obligations. For example, if the company has issued ESOPs, or if earlier the company had issued convertible debentures or company had issued convertible preference shares, then those convertible preference shares or the convertible debentures can be converted into equity shares if the conversion period falls within that period of 6 months or within the span of 6 months. Barring these exceptions, the company will not be allowed to come out with any further issue of shares. Let us try to understand some of the basics relating to reduction of share capital. Under the Companies Act 1956, Section 100 dealt with the provisions of reduction of share capital. Section 100 of Companies Act 1956 was effective till December 2016. However, due to the notification issued by the MCA in December 2016, provisions of Section 66 of Companies Act 2013 became effective. What it simply means is that under the old Companies Act, if the company wanted to reduce its share capital, the company was required to approach the High Court, and it was the High Court that used to confirm the reduction of share capital. Under Section 66 of Companies Act 2013, the provisions relating to reduction of share capital have now been transferred to NCLT. That means any company that wants to reduce its share capital will now have to get the confirmation from National Company Law Tribunal. One needs to keep in mind that provisions of Section 66 are applicable only to those companies which are limited by shares or which are limited by guarantee and have share capital. So, Provisions relating to reduction of share capital are not applicable to an unlimited company. What it simply means is that an unlimited company is free to reduce its share capital in any manner whatsoever without following the provisions or procedures which are given under Section 66 of the Companies Act. Similarly, the difference between buyback of shares and reduction of share capital is that, of course, there is a similarity as well. The similarity is that both in case of buyback and reduction of share capital, the share capital of the company comes down. Whereas, in case of buyback, as we have discussed some time back, there is a maximum limit on the shares or the amount of share capital that can be bought back. As far as the reduction is concerned under Section 66, there is absolutely no restriction on the amount and the number of shares that can be reduced by a company. For example, if a company has a share capital of 1 lakh rupees, a company can reduce the share capital of 1 lakh rupees to rupees 10,000 as well. What it means is, company can reduce the share capital by 90% or even 95% by following the provisions and procedures which are given in Section 66 of the Companies Act. Of course, this is subject to confirmation of the order given by the National Company Law Tribunal. We have discussed the provisions relating to compromise and arrangement some time back. We also discussed about the provisions of section number 230. If you read that, it has a specific provision which says that if reduction of share capital is a part of the scheme of compromise or arrangement, then the company is not required to comply with the provisions of section 66 in respect of reduction of share capital. What it simply means is that you can have a scheme of compromise or arrangement for reduction of share capital of a company, and in spite of that you need not follow the provisions of section 66. This has been given by way of an explanation under section 230.